but thank you.
Thank you. I don't know about being better. I might be loud. I'm glad to know you're going to Cades Cove. I'll point out some things as we're going along I'd like for you to visit. But first of all, let me get this out of the way. The first notion that I had of knowledge as I was at Tipton, in addition, and my first connection with Tiptons was they stole my baby bottle. Yeah, it was Tiptons. It had to be the Tiptons because they had been there visiting in our house in Cades Cove. And lo and behold, when they leave, all the baby bottles were gone. I was 3 and my younger brother was about 1.5. And Mommy was weaning us together. So she laid it on the Tiptons. So for a few years I was mad at the Tiptons. But I'm honored to be here, and I'll tell you how I fit in with the Tiptons here in just a minute. But first I want to know something about you. How many are Cades Cove descendants? A lot. A lot. Yeah. Daryl's a Cades Cove descendant. Okay. And one more. How many, do we have anybody from Missouri? From Jacob going to Missouri?
Not from Jacob.
Missouri.
Missouri, but not from Jacob.
Okay. All right.
From Samuel.
Okay.
Isaac's, William's son Isaac, his son Samuel. Samuel moved to Missouri.
You'll see some right in front of you from Isaac. What about the other states? What about Ohio? Allie Carter used to come down here from Ohio. Ohio? What other states are represented?
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Florida now.
Florida? Okay, great. Okay, now let's do Jacob versus Jonathan. How many are Jacob descendants from Cades Cove, up to Cades Cove? Jacob? Jacob. Jonathan. Any Jonathans? Who all Jonathan? All right. Well, it helps me.
Here we got Jacob.
Jacob?
Right here.
Okay. Okay. And I want to tell you, intercede anytime you have a question, because I like to call these discussions rather than lectures. I'm not real good on lectures. I like some feedback of what you want to hear and what you want to know about. One thing I want to correct, I can't tell you all the connections of Cades Cove. We'd be here for months. Besides that, I don't know all the connections. I know that I'm one of the Sparks are one of the original families over there, but we take a lot of pride in the fact that we come from Fighting Billy, who was Cades Cove. He got the first legal land grants to Cades Cove, executed them at least in 1821, and there's about 3 or 4 other families came before my Sparks came in 1833. But we go back further than that. We go back to 1600s in Maryland. The Sparks came into Maryland middle 1600s. We came into Talbot County. It's now Queen Anne's County over on the East Coast. At the same time, the Tiptons were in Baltimore County. Our Birchfields, it's another side from my mother, they were in Frederick and Baltimore County and Frederick County. So then, as the Tiptons came down through the Virginia and the Carolinas, the Sparks left about 1760, went to the forks of Yadkin River over in Wilkesboro, Surrey, and Wilkes County, hugging the Virginia, North Carolina line. They came in there, land grabbing on North Carolina grants, and they would survey out a section of land, make an improvement, go get a deed, move west. So they kept moving west until they got to Mitchell County, Burke was split up into several counties, as you know. By 1833, then my group of Sparks came over the mountain into Cades Cove. They bought land from who would you guess they bought land from? Thomas. They bought land from Thomas, his brother. But bought 160 acres on the west end of Cades Cove. If you know Cades Cove, for you folks that do, down where on the west end where you turn down to Abrams Falls, either side of the road right there, James Sparks and Amanda Birchfield bought 160 acres right there from Thomas. So from there, Cades Cove kept growing. We actually had Billy's land, and Billy sold to Thomas's daughter, Ruth, who had married Joshua Joe. They bought a bunch of land in Cades Cove. So the community continued to build. And the last, as we said, Jacob, somewhere in the late 1840s, Jacob went to Missouri, Stewart County, Missouri, as I understand. It's back in the southwest corner of Missouri.
It's close to Joplin. It's underneath, it's south of Joplin.
Okay,
I've
thank you.
been there.
And I would be remiss if I didn't tell you, when we flew B-2s out of Missouri, I was thinking, I wonder if that's some Tiptons at the control. It's got to be a Tipton if we're going to war. But
Is that a wide awake in there?
as we know now, the pilots' names are secret, as I understand. But yeah, it would not surprise me if there's a Tiptons at the control coming out of Missouri. But anyway, I've always taken a lot of pride in the fact that we've got Tiptons. I will tell you who mine are. My mother was Amy Birchfield. Her mother was Margaret Tennessee Tipton, daughter of George Tipton. And he was son of William Martin Tipton. He's also called Daddy Mark. And Daddy Mark came from Jonathan R., Fighting Billy's son. And as you know, he's buried out there in the Tipton Cemetery with his dad. With him going to the War of 1812, together with most of these on my mother's side, I've identified at least 12 Revolutionary grandfathers. And if you throw in the War of 1812, it'd be 13 Jonathan. Jonathan, I will mention, we have record of him being killed, and I found a newspaper article where he's killed in 1840. So if you notice, he lived a short life. The Tipton that, if you circle in the cove, and you see the Tipton Oliver Place down there, that place was built by Hamp Tipton, another son of Jonathan R., brother to Daddy Mark. He built that. His daughters taught school, as I understand. He built that house and sold it a short time later to William Howell Oliver. And continuing on mine, of course, from Fighting Billy, Colonel John, you know the rest from there. I failed to bring a photo. Allie Carter sent me a photo a few years ago that was it's a print of a drawing from Jonathan's back, I guess, in Jamaica. Has anybody else seen that print of Jonathan in Jamaica? He comes, Allie Carter from Ohio, comes from Colonel John's brother, Jonathan, that went to Kings Mountain. And he it's a nice one. I'll get it to someone here. But it's a nice print of a painting, and it's said to be, Jonathan, he's, standing, for his painting, as you might expect, he's standing there like he's, well, he's posing with a dog. He has a huge hound standing next to him. And it's a wonderful picture, but I didn't think about bringing it until last night, and we had too many things going, I couldn't find it. But I will find it. I'll get it to you a copy for your sure, Lord. We had, let's get back to Cades Cove. Jacob left in the late 40s, so there was no Tiptons showed up by Dr. Randolph Shields. There was no Tiptons showed up on the 1850 census in Cades Cove. But Tiptons held some land there. One that held land was Kermit Howe, and he held land all the way through out to at least the 1870s into Cades Cove. But by then, Tiptons were coming back into the cove. In fact, some of them came back in the late 1860s. I mentioned to someone a while ago that, to Darrell, I guess, that my daddy Mark, son of Jonathan R., went to Missouri to visit Jacob's people and brought back a wife in the late 1870s. He married Margaret Hanley from Missouri, and they came back and settled Cades Cove. But from then on, there were many, many Tiptons in Cades Cove, and we still had lots of Isaac and his brothers, folks in Cades Cove. By then we had multiple Tipton families, and as you know, the Tipton families, they had big families. I'm one of 12, and I was just, when I'm reading about these, I learned a lot of Tiptons had many more than 12. I want to introduce my wife here. I failed to do. Sitting back here in the second row is my wife, Katie. She's also a revolutionary. She's a descendant of Nicholas Gibbs of Knox County. Quite a revolutionary hero himself. I'm in Ancestry, easy to find in Ancestry. I'm in First Families of Tennessee. That was one of my big prides, getting in Ancestry, in First Families under Colonel John and of course Fighting Billy. And how many are in the First Families of Tennessee? 1, 2, 3. You can still get in it. It's through the Historical Society there in Knoxville at the old post office building, East Tennessee History Center. You can still get in it. You just have to qualify yourself by census or other means back to, you have to have a resident in statehood by June 1st, 1776. And of course, obviously we have our Tipton, Fighting Billy and Colonel John both. I'm also the president of the Sparks Reunion. I've been 29-year president of that, and that's been a growing organization. I don't think it's the national brand that Tiptons are, obviously, but we are nationwide. Last year, we're nationwide just out of Cades Cove. From our first family in Cades Cove in 1833, they've gone all over the country. Last year, we had 532 sign our book at the Sparks Reunion in Cades Cove. I see one back here was there. How many may have attended the Sparks Reunion last year in August? Thank you. It's a big event. We did our best to honor our very first reunion, last year. It's our 100th. So we had a little cousin, daughter of George Sparks. That we made her the story. We put her on the back of our shirt, driving her daddy's T-model Ford from Maryville and Benfield into Cades Cove. The story was that her daddy couldn't drive. He bought this Ford and turned it over driving it home. So he was scared of driving. So she was 15 years old, and she said, "Daddy, I'll learn to drive that contraption if we can go to the reunion." So she drove her daddy across the mountain to the reunion. So those kind of things we honor and we love to talk about, and I'm sure you do too. This is my first Tipton event, other than going to Johnson City, to Tipton Hayes, and a few other things. But I'm glad you're meeting. It's a wonderful thing, and there's got to be so much pride among you all that you're Tiptons. If not, you need to look in the mirror and say yes, because it's a wonderful, wonderful family to be so proud of, that founded our country. And as I mentioned, out of my 12 revolutionaries, 2 of them are Tiptons, and then throw in Jonathan R. I got 3 in that group from the Revolution, and you don't get any better than that. My mother, well, let me talk about her cousins. My mother grew up with all her Tipton cousins on the west end of the cove and loved them to death. And there was preachers in the family. I'll mention Uncle Mark Tipton. He, in the 1950s, he took it on his own to lay a block foundation under all 3 of the Methodist and the Missionary Baptist Church over there. And he maintained those church buildings because that's what he grew up in. His brother, Uncle Johnny, was a preacher also. He raised a big family. There are 34, at least 34 grave sites of Tiptons in Cades Cove on our books at the Cades Cove Preservation Association. I'm a member, I'm a board member of the Cades Cove Preservation, and we basically take care of the church cemeteries, and we pester the park until they make repairs necessary to the church buildings. They don't let us make them because of historic issues, but they do make them after we bring things to their attention. But we take care of the cemeteries, we keep the water drained off of the cemeteries, pathways around, and we try our best to keep a chain around to keep people from stopping over the graves. One little funny thing you might appreciate here, Fighting Billy, he gave land for the Primitive Baptist Church in Cades Cove in his early days. That church was established, the building was at least built in 1827, so it would have been established a little before that. But Fighting Billy he deeded that land. Guess who he deeded the land to? God. So when the park started taking the land from everybody, they had quite a legal hassle to get through how you take the land from God. It was deeded to God by Fighting Billy. Way to go, Granddaddy Billy. I'm looking through my notes, make sure I don't leave anything out. Kathy did ask me to tell you a good Cades Cove story, and I will end it with that just a minute. But I want to tell you that when you circle a cove, make sure you don't see any other board in the cove. In 2014, I met with Sally Jewell, the Secretary of Interior, and complained about us not having anything identifying home sites and the people that really made that community go like it turned out, like they found it when they bought everybody out. But she agreed that we could do some boards. So we did some wayside boards around the cove. If you don't see any boards tomorrow, there's 5 around there. If you don't stop and look at any of them, stop at the last one on the back side of Cades Cove. It's the Windshields place. And look at that board. That's where we honor our military. You'll see proudly standing there my great uncle, Mike Tipton, from World War I. Mike is standing there holding his carbine in uniform. He went to war with a guy, several guys from Cades Cove, but one of them was Luke Lawson. How many know the Luke Lawson story from Vic Will's book, Legends of Cades Cove? If you don't, I'll go ahead and tell you right quick. Luke Lawson, he was a logger working in the mountains, wearing overalls. He was so prideful that when he got drafted to World War I, he sent money to his sister Pauline to go down to Jane Birchfield's store and buy him some sock supporters. Sock supporters for men go above the calf, and they got little snaps that hang under their socks, because in those days the socks had no elastic hardly. So he wanted to go proper. He bought him a suit, and he went off to the army to World War I, got killed in France with a lead ball in the forehead. Sitting beside him was his Cades Cove buddy, Alex Gregory. So 2 years bringing his body home. When they buried him, his daddy went to Townsend to claim his body with a horse and wagon. They put him in the wagon and brought him over the mountain. His daddy insisted that, this is 2 years later, his daddy insisted he wanted to see the remains, and they showed him. Sure enough, there was a hole in his skull. But it was a sad case. But Luke Lawson was buried at the Methodist Church, and they said, Vic Will said in his story, that the church was packed, and every window and door was packed with people looking in. They had lost one of their own. And with that, I want to end with my story that Kathy asked me to tell. You know, it's about community and taking care of your neighbor and how to be a neighbor. There was a guy during the Civil War by the name of Daniel Fowle that was a county clerk. So he also was one of a very minority of people that supported the Confederates. Probably 10% of the Cove was about like Plum County that supported Confederate. He housed rebel soldiers coming to the Cove to raid homes and take whatever they could take. Bedding, shoes, food for sure. They had to hide anything they wanted to keep, they had to hide. My own great-grandmother, Eliza Jean Potter Sparks, buried her silverware in holes in the creek bank from raids. But anyway, when Daniel, after the war, of course, Daniel being a clerk, he knew when people were in debt on their farms and behind on their taxes in the Cove. So he was on the courthouse steps buying their farms up. And when he died, here's your neighbor's story. When he died, they had a sale of his estate, and some of the farms over there brought as little as $10 because the neighbors would not bid against the original owner. Now, is that pride and community? Yes. That's love your neighbor as yourself. Thank you very much.
So we have the prayer and the Southern Supper served 5 o'clock, right on time. Do we want, I guess we'll say the prayer at 10. Okay. At 6 o'clock, we have Tipton stories. Are we going to do that here or at the dinner? Okay. Reba?
Let's do dinner.
Dinner table.